I am taking the Atlanta Falcons to win the NFC South this year. The Buccaneers have been the heavy favorite to win this division for the fourth straight year in a row, but I like Atlanta to get the job done for a variety of different reasons. One, Kirk Cousins isn't starting this year. Last season, Kirk Cousins played outstanding football for the first half of the season, and then all of a sudden, during the second half, he just forgot how to play quarterback, and he threw away the NFC South title for Atlanta, which is why Michael Penix had to come in and somewhat try to salvage what was left of the season. And when Michael Penix was in replace of Kirk Cousins, he showed a lot of promise. The dude has a RPG for a left arm. 15.5% of the Falcons' passing plays under Michael Penix at center resulted in gains of 16 yards or more. He also led the NFL in air yards per attempt at 10.2, which led all quarterbacks during the last 3 games of the regular season. So based off the small sample size that we've seen out of Michael Penix, we know that he's going to make Atlanta's offense incredibly explosive when they choose to throw the football downfield, because Darnell Mooney was not talked about enough last season. He was a really underrated free agency pickup for Atlanta. He made a lot of big plays down the stretch for this Falcons offense. And you also got Drake London, who had the quietest 1,200-yard season that you will ever see, because nobody talked about how good he was. This dude was carrying my fantasy team for the bulk of last year. And you got Bijan Robinson, who is now starting to really cement himself as a top 3, top 5 back in the league. And we could see Bijan Robinson be even better this year than what he was last season, because it looks like the Falcons are going to feature him more in the pass game. Because what made Bijan Robinson such a highly regarded prospect when he was coming out of Texas was that he was a weapon. He wasn't just a good running back, but you can line him out at wide receiver. You can put him in the slot, and he's good enough as a route runner to be on par with a wide receiver 3. So if the Falcons utilize him more as just an all-around weapon, similarly to how the Lions used Jahmyr Gibbs, we could see him possibly be an all-pro this year. So the Falcons are not lacking in talent on offense. They got a bunch of guys that are capable of going off on any given Saturday. And in terms of how they compare to the Buccaneers offense, I don't really think there's a significant gap at all between the two. I think that both offenses are on par with each other. They both have good offensive lines. They got really good receivers. The only difference is that the Buccaneers have Baker Mayfield, who has played at a top 10 level for the past 2 seasons down in Tampa, and Michael Penix is unproven up to this point based off, the amount of games that he has played compared to Baker Mayfield. But the offense is going to be really good for Atlanta. But what really sells me on the Falcons this year is that their defense has improved. Now, I'm not expecting for the Falcons defense to go from being what they were last year, around average to below average, to all of a sudden top 10. But this defense should at least be in the top 15 this year, with them getting a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, replacing Jimmy Lake. Jimmy Lake's scheme was really bad. It didn't maximize the talent that the Falcons had on that side of the ball, and it got shredded by Bo Nix and a bunch of other of the best quarterbacks that the Falcons went up against. And they were bad in third down and red zone situations. They had the second worst third down defense in the league last season, and they also had a red zone defense that was unable to stop teams from walking away with touchdowns. With Jeff Ulbrich coming from that Robert Saleh coaching tree, you're hoping that the offense can at least take a step or two and improvement. And if that happens with how potent this offense should be, that will be good enough for the Falcons to win this division, because the NFC South is really a 2-team race. It comes down to them and the Buccaneers. The Panthers still have a lot of holes that they have to address, and the Saints are pretty much irrelevant with their quarterback situation. And Raheem Morris got over on Todd Bowles last year. Okay, he went 2-0 with Kirk Cousins. And if it wasn't for Kirk Cousins, feeling generous and playing like garbage to give the Buccaneers back the division title for a third straight season, the Falcons would have won this division. So this year, although there's not a lot of confidence in Raheem Morris, I believe in the Falcons being a playoff team because they have Michael Penix, because they have improved their defense, not just with bringing in Jeff Ulbrich to replace Jimmy Lake, but they also made two really good free agency signings. You got Leonard Floyd, a guy who's coming off a 8.5 sack season with the 49ers last year. Linebacker Divine Diablo has improved the last couple of years that he was with the Raiders. He was initially a safety that converted to linebacker. He's really good in coverage. His run defense has also improved as well. He should be a really pivotal part of this Falcons defense this year. And the rookies that the Falcons have coming into this season are going to be really good. They had a really good draft class. You double dipped in the first round at edge with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., two of the most freakishly gifted edge rushers in this draft class. Then you got defensive backs Billy Bowman and Xavier Watts, who are two of my favorite DBs in the draft also. So you got a rookie class that should have a big impact on how good this team is going to be this year. So I'm taking the Falcons to win the NFC South this year. I have more faith in this team than I do the Bucs because of just the amount of talent that the Falcons have, the fact that we saw the Falcons sweep the Buccaneers last year, and Todd Bowles isn't a good coach, and you're asking him to strike gold for a third straight season, having to replace another offensive coordinator. This would be the Bucs' third OC in the past 3 seasons. And when you got a defensive-minded coach in charge, normally he ends up whiffing on an offensive coordinator hire or two. So that's why the Buccaneers' offense will regress somewhat, despite how much star power they have on that side. And the Falcons are just due to win this division because the gap between them and the Buccaneers in terms of talent is not really that wide. So even if you don't believe in Raheem Morris, do you believe in the coach that lost him twice last season? Yeah, give me the Falcons to win the NFC South this year.